It's Umineko time. We spent a good hour like before starting this up.
Yeah, and I was spoiled before
Oh yeah, true.
yesterday.
So
So I know I wasn't crazy. I wasn't crazy.
and I would like, this is a good time to reiterate because I don't know if I said it on the stream. I might have said it to you when we were playing like the first hour or so before stream, right? But I've seen all of episode 1. So I've seen like the beginning of episode 2. So that's as much as I know. I didn't load a safe. Umineko.
When I umi my nekos.
It's like fucking Zeroscape VLR, where it's just so easy to accidentally restart the game instead of clicking the save file. Oh yeah, that's right. We were down here. 4 people died. Who's alive again? Natsuhi, Jessica, George, Battler, Maria, Kumasawa, Cannon's dead, Genji, Nanjo. Who do you think's gonna die next? If you don't know.
The servants and then that. Well, oh.
Because they can only be the servants.
Well, I know who dies like next.
Spoilers yourself on the fucking. You couldn't wait 100 hours for it to end.
Okay, it was only episode 1, okay?
Does the crime confirm that a 19th person exists? There's still that contradiction, since they're trying to tout their existence without ever showing themselves once. Along with Kairi-san's chessboard theory, I've been using this contradiction to deny the existence of a 19th person. By spinning the chessboard around once more, the very fact that this crime makes it perfectly obvious that a 19th person exists means that the existence of the 19th person is even less plausible. As long as the 19th person doesn't show themselves right in front of us, the culprit...
Unless all the servants are plotting.
The fault in this logic is, it doesn't matter if we know if there's a 19th person or not, because as long as they don't get caught, does it really matter if they're hiding themselves? Sure, like, let's say they make a murder where it's only possible for there to be a 19th person to do it.
I think
that doesn't matter if nobody finds that 19th person.
I feel like Battler is only seeing the fact that there's one person and not like multiple people being involved in this. Because you can't pull off these murders without multiple people being involved in this.
Actually the 25th person. There's just so many people on this island.
There's actually a village, like, right next to this island.
The village! In the basement! Oh my god, the part of Epitaph. I fucking solved it, I'm telling you right now.
No.
There's a hidden bunker village underneath this place.
Oh! Wait, that actually makes sense.
I feel like everything I've said is like correct. That's how confident I am. If the culprit could get grandfather out through the door sealed by the receipt, they could kill Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi from the other side of a door sealed by a chain. Could they possibly go as far as to create a fictional 19th person through the strange tricks and devices?
I think you're right about the bunker being underneath the building is the village. That actually makes a lot of sense if there's just a fucking bunker underneath this. And then I know a lot of the theories I made were actually like on point, so I'm happy now.
You solved Umineko. It's just
We
so
already
easy.
solved Umineko. Guys, look at that. You just gotta take enough blind shots or something, and then you'll hit something eventually.
If we still want to believe that the culprit is amongst an 18, then the list of suspect. Sorry, I'm like half chewing food. The list of suspects has grown very short. 4 of us kids on Natsuhi, Genji-san, and Kumasawa Bachan, and Dr. Nanjo. One of these people has to be the culprit. Wait, but we can't be sure of that. Just a second ago, we were doubting whether the corpse had actually been grandfather's, right? Maybe we can think of the other bodies in the same way? For example, the first 6 all had their faces horribly smashed. Some of the bodies had kept enough of their face for us to confirm who they were. But that old bastard, for example, he lost his entire face, as though the whole thing had been neatly peeled off. We only figured out which body was which by the clothes and the surroundings. And you just have to wonder why that is. Why did two of them not have their face destroyed completely? Like if it was just Shannon's face, that would be sus, but like also Cross's face wasn't destroyed.
Okay, but I feel like that's such a red herring, where like they smashed 2 faces of one of the suspects, so like one of the victims, so you wouldn't be pointed towards the fact that one of the people with half of their face. Remember, magic needs risk.
Then that would mean 4 of the bodies are not actually them, but that is indeed Cross's dead body.
Well, I think it doesn't mean, well, actually, what it can mean is that, wait, I'm acting like I don't know. Never mind.
That's alright. What if Shannon did this?
I'm acting like
list
I
out
don't
it perfectly.
Know. So what if Shannon... But like, I was kind of right yesterday, guys. I'm just saying.
We only figured out which body was which by the... Did the culprit prepare a fake body beforehand and alter it to make it look like they had died? Even though they were actually hiding somewhere after committing the crime? It may sound ridiculous, but it wouldn't have been impossible a trick to pull off. It's too early to give in to this 19th person. No, this witch. Oh, by the way, yesterday when I muted you, you were muted for 8 minutes.
Oh my god, yeah, because like...
like, it literally was because my finger slipped and I pressed the mute button, and I didn't realize.
My friend was like watching the stream, and they said they were shocked about like how I started screaming once you unmuted. Like, they thought I left for a bit, but no, you just muted me.
Yeah, it was a complete accident.
Maria-chan, you mustn't stare so fixedly anymore. Come on, Battler-kun too. I'm worried about Cannon's condition. We mustn't remain in a place like this any longer than necessary. I'm pretty sure Cannon is fucking lying about his injury. Dr. Nando's in on it. Let us return.
Where's the fucking hatchet? Maria didn't go with everyone else, but remained in the boiler room. The thing she was staring so fixedly at probably wasn't grandfather's body, but the demon's ice pick sticking out of his forehead. It's probably the sort of item that an enthusiast couldn't bear to ignore. I tapped her on the head.
Hey, Maria! What's Beatrice after? Is it all of our lives?
Beatrice will revive very soon. At that time, none shall be left alive.
How can you laugh at something like that?
Do you think you're the only one who's safe? Or don't you feel like you're in danger? Why aren't you scared? Beatrice made a promise. She said she's gonna take me to the Golden Land. It's a wonderful place where you have no obligations. Everyone's always together and everyone's always nice to everyone else.
She's been indoctrinated in some
I'm looking forward to it. The time will come very soon now.
I don't like that. That little transition was a little weird. Just what kind of person is Maria?
You saw her mom beating her. Of course she's gonna have fantasies of escapism.
True. I only know what Maria was like 6 years ago when she... Oh, okay. Holy shit. I was going to jokingly say what Maria was like 6 years ago when she was 3, but that was literally the next line. Oh, why do we keep fucking making this like that? She was once pure and obedient, a good kid. Stop doing the math. Stop doing the math. This new Maria is 6 years later. And the Maria I knew from
Just
3
in
years
case you
from
forgot.
from 6
Just in case you forgot.
when she was 3. They didn't seem to fit together. Just who is she? This witch who called herself Maria. It'd be nice to know like when this started. To Maria, who obstinately believes in the witch, the series of unsolvable crimes is proof that the witch actually exists. Every time something occurs that would be difficult for a human, it becomes a little bit harder for the rest of us not to believe in Beatrice.
It's
Beatrice.
easily solved if you just assume that half of the group is accomplices.
It must be an intense pleasure for Maria to see her relatives, who once firmly denied the witch's existence, start acknowledging the witch's existence one by one. Isn't that why she's in high spirits?
Maria,
マリア、もう一遍だけ聞く。
let me ask one more time.
どうせ答えは同じだろうが、
You'll
もう
probably
一
never
遍だ
answer
け
the
聞く。
same anyway, but I'll ask just once more.
Ooh.
お前は昨日、マラテイエン
Yeah,
の手紙をも
You
ら
were
った。
given a letter in the Rose
そ
Garden.
いつは誰なの？
Who gave it to you?
だからベアトリーチェ
Like I said, Beatrice.
Okay, so if everybody else is in on it, I just feel like Maria wouldn't agree to lie for them.
Okay, well, she could be. Okay, what if Maria is like being. What do you think, like, Maria is being bribed by everyone else? If that makes sense. Bribed with the idea that Beatrice does exist.
Hmm.
Because the theory that Shannon was actually involved in everything, and she dressed up as Beatrice and put on a dress and is Beatrice. Let's say that.
I would have to consider how everybody reacted when Maria brought up the letter of Beatrice. I
The
would have to
servants
see how they talked
are
about it.
just kind of. Remember, the servants are very adamant that Beatrice exists. So I feel like because they're under Kinzo, they'd make it seem like Beatrice would exist too, just to because they're loyal to Beatrice, quote unquote Beatrice, or whoever wants to pose as Beatrice.
That would mean she does exist.
It means, I mean, I don't think Beatrice like doesn't exist, but I do think she exists in some type of like less magical form.
I understand. If it were me, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't cover up. You want me to worship a witch? Hell no. Unless it looks like Natsuhi.
You saw Beatrice on the cover of this game. She's the blonde.
Yep. Saw her in the portrait.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Not as hot as Natsuhi though.
Mm. Thank goodness. Butler still doesn't believe. Mm.
Maria only repeated what had already been said, just like me. Maria made the 19th person. Oh, sorry. Maria met with the 19th person, the witch. Was that really a 19th person, or did one of the 18 just get her to say that? All that's certain is that Maria has been with us
What are
constantly,
these?
has always had an alibi, and hasn't done anything suspicious. Anything suspicious? She's simply overjoyed at being made Beatrice's messenger, and certainly isn't the 19th person. Supposedly. That's right. I wonder what's written in the letter we picked up in Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Aunt Natsuhi should still have it with her. Didn't she open it? I thought she opened it and then walked away. What is it? It's 678.
Mm.
In the end, Kennen-kun did not regain consciousness. Even though Dr. Nanjo and the rest did all they could to heal him. Of course, there was very little that could be done on an island like this without medicine or proper facilities. However, Ken was the only human ever to confront the culprit. If only he could have given us some kind of clue. However, at the time they carried Kennen away, it was already too late.
申し訳ありません。
The doctor's in on it, and they
Found in the
faked it.
boiler room, with a weapon resembling an ice pick sticking out of his chest. How presumptuous of a lowly furniture like that. My sincere apologies.
あのような重傷
Without proper facilities, there was nothing I could do for such serious wounds.
いえ
No,
無
that's
理のない
perfectly
ご理最
understandable.
善を尽くしてくださり
Thank you for giving
ありがとうご
it
ざい
your
まし
very
た
best.
Dr. Nanja's shirt had been sprayed with a violent splurt of blood, so it was easy to imagine the devotion for which he tried to save Cannon's life, up until the last second. Jessica was crouched in the corridor, crying softly. She had probably been taking care of Cannon-kun until the moment of his death. George Aniki tried to approach her with words of comfort, but when Jessica pushed him away, he stopped trying to force her to talk and left her alone.
私がカノンさんを一人で行かせ
If only I hadn't let Cannon-san go alone. Oh.
気に病むことはない。
Do not let it bother you.
一緒だ。
If you had been with him, you would probably have been attacked as well. He foolishly rushed on ahead and paid for his mistake.
そんな言い方でね
How can you say it like that? Cannon-kun spotted the culprit and bravely stood up to them. If only Kumasawa-san had gone with him, the culprit might have hesitated and chosen to run away. Devotion-filled words that I never thought I'd hear coming from Jessica's mouth tumbled out. Kumasawa, looking truly sorry, could do nothing but hang her head.
ジェシカ、
Now, come on, it's not the old lady's fault.
No, quite literally.
今は言葉をかけるべきじゃない。
You shouldn't talk to her now. It's just the same for me.
そして
And probably you as well, right, Balor-kun?
もう何が何だかわからない。
We don't know what's going on. It feels like our hearts are gonna split open. There were tears in George Aniki's eyes again. Seeing Jessica break down probably brought back the pain of losing his parents. I'd done my crying all at once, so I didn't feel like crying anymore. However, I understood how great the pain in their heart was.
大丈夫だよジェシカ
It's okay, Jessica.
カノンにだって
You'll be able to meet Cannon again soon.
よしてくれよ
Stop it.
そういう慰め
I don't need you to try consoling me like that.
ベアトリーチェは
Because he'll resurrect the dead and even love that has been lost.
だからきっとすぐに
So you'll
会える
definitely be able to meet him soon.
そしてきっと
And everyone will be able to live in peace.
カノン君を殺したのがマリアに昨日手紙を渡したっていうベアトリーチェなのか
So, the one who killed Cannon-kun? Is that Beatrice who supposedly gave you the letter yesterday?
そいつはどこにいるんだよ
Where is she?
どこに隠れてるんだよ
Where is she hiding?
私が見つけて引き
I'll
裂いて
find her and tear her apart. Tell me, you know who that culprit really is, don't you?
お前は何をして
What do you know? What are you hiding?
話しやが
Tell me, damn it. Just beat up fucking Marita.
お嬢様、おやめください。
My lady, please stop. Oh, she is beating her.
Beaches exist. Exist.
源氏さん話せよ
Damn it. Let go of me, Genji-san.
マリアが犯人をして
Maria knows who the culprit is, and she's hiding their identity even though she
そ
knows.
して俺たちの
You must be telling them what we're doing, guiding them as they kill us.
違いジェシカ静かにしなさい
Jessica, be silent.
Oh, there it is. After all day, bro started coughing. And Jessica grabbed at Maria. Genji tried to stop her, but Jessica could not be calmed. And the next thing I heard was the sound of Aunt Natsuhi slapping Jessica's face. After that, only Jessica's sorrowful sobbing voice resounded throughout the hall.
マリアちゃん、
Maria-chan,
君が断じて犯人ではないことを
I know there's no way you're the culprit.
いつも僕
You've been
た
with
ち
us since the beginning, and there's no time for you to communicate with any culprit.
だから
So I want you to tell me something.
昨日
This Beatrice who handed you the letter, who was she?
誰なんだい
Although his words seemed kind, They clearly showed that George still had some remaining doubts about Maria. He didn't actually grab at her. However, he felt exactly the same way as Jessica did. He kind of talks like his dad. Because Hideyoshi's always talks like that too. Like when Eva was accusing Natsuhi, he's like, Natsuhi, we don't want to believe you, so just please prove you're innocent. Please tell us that this didn't happen. Or...
I think that's gonna be their downfall.
兄貴、同じことは俺もさっき聞いたぜ。
Aniki, I already asked her the same thing a second ago.
返事は同じさ。
Her answer was the same as before.
マリアちゃんの口から聞きたい。
I want to hear it from Maria's mouth.
See if I should be her too.
誰なんだい？
Who is Beatrice?
Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe anyway.
それはどういう意味だい？
What do you mean by
ひ
that?
ょっとして僕らのよく知る人物が犯
To
人？
be the culprit someone we know
君
well?
は
And you're keeping silent because you're covering for them for some reason?
君はあの
Who
手紙
gave you
を
that
誰に
letter?
もらったんだい？
ベアトリーチェに
I
何度
got
だ
it
って
from
言う
Beatrice. I'll say it no matter how many times you ask.
手紙はベアトリーチェに
Got the
もらっ
letter
た
from Beatrice.
ジョージお兄ちゃんがベアトリーチェを信じないのは
Do you
殴れる
refuse
相
to
手じゃ
believe
な
in
いから
Beatrice because she's an opponent you can't hit? She's not an
ジ
opponent
ョ
you
ージお
can
兄
hit.
ちゃんは
You
やるせ
wanna
ない
turn
気
your
持ちを
feelings to
暴力
helplessness
に
into
変
violent
えて
and beat
誰
someone
かに
up.
ぶつけたいとだから殴れる
So
相
you
手が
won't be
人間
satisfied
じゃな
unless
き
your
ゃ
opponent is a
収まりが
human you
つか
can
な
hit.
いだからそんなジョージお兄ち
So
ゃんに
even if I
は
tell you the
真
truth,
実
you
を
won't
話
accept
し
it.
てもだから言っても無駄
So it's pointless for me to tell you.
信じない
You won't believe,
でもマリアは何
but
度
I'll
も言
keep
うよ
on saying it
真実だから言うよ
because it's true.
ベアトリーチェはね
Beatrice exists.
黄金鏡の扉は
The door to the golden land will soon be opened.
マリアはそこに行
I'll
く
go
の
there.
ベアトリーチェが約
Beatrice
束してくれたのその世界では
That
マ
world,
マも優し
Mama is
くて
nice.
パパも
Pop
一
is
緒で
with
優
us
しい
and
の
also nice.
マリアは早くそこへ
I
行
want to
き
go
たい
there right away.
みんなはベアトリーチェの
Everyone is
ことを
afraid of
恐れている
Beatrice.
そしてそれは無理もない
That's
ことだ
only
から
natural.
なら安心し
So
て
calm yourselves.
ベアトリーチェは言って
Beatrice
た
said
よ
so herself.
台風が去るま
By
で
the
に
time the
全
typhoon
てを
has
終
passed,
わらせるか
I'll
ら
have ended everything, she said. Oh,
饒舌なマリアも嫌いじゃねえが。とりあえずはそのくらいにしておけ
Maria, I don't mind you being talkative, but let's leave it at that for now.
魔女はいるいる言ってたお前
I'll
にとっ
bet
て
this is a pretty happy situation for you, since you're always gonna go. You're always going on about how witches exist. Keep that to yourself for now.
他人にまで押し付けるんじゃ
Don't
ね
try to
え
force that on to other people.
I know I've been creeped out by that girl for a while, but there really is something wrong with her. Don't you think so too, Battler? Genji-san? Umasawa-san? What about you, Mom? Maria knows who the culprit is, and she's hiding it. Okay, maybe she hasn't done anything directly, but she's definitely working with the criminal. That's right, she's a spy. We can't let her stay with us any longer. Would you
bro,
doubt the kid?
Genji- No, I fucking don't trust the servants either. The
Personally,
kid, servants.
I wouldn't trust the kid at this point.
I've never trusted the kid.
マリアちゃん、不謹
I
慎
do
な話を慎むべき時もあることを知りなさい。
That it's like Genji's not gonna say anything because I'm surprised Battler hasn't just fucking exposed the servants for being like, yeah, the servants are also saying Beatrice exists after the murders. Like, you know, what was with the whole scene in the kitchen then? Just like fucking tell, because like Maria is not the only one who believes Beatrice exists. You might as well talk to Genji, because Genji was like, yeah, Beatrice exists and knows who the culprit is. Probably. Maria-chan, you must realize there are times indiscreet discussions are best avoided. Like, honestly, they're all probably bribing each other somehow. If you keep adding oil to the fire, even I will
お
get
ば
very
さんも
angry.
本気で怒ります
Aunt Natsuhi glared at Maria with frightening eyes. Maria was used to Aunt Rosa's loud style of scolding, but she apparently hadn't built up a resistance to Aunt Natsuhi's quiet sort of scolding. She shrugged and kept her mouth shut. A desolate feeling filled the room. I felt as though things would just get more complicated if anyone spoke. How many people have already died? 6 people in Dad's group. After that, both Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi, Kanin-kun and grandfather. There were a whole 18 people in silence, supposedly, and only 10 of those people had been killed. That's more than half of us. And right now, there's absolutely no proof that the remaining 8 people will be safe.
とにかく今は仲違いをしている時ではあります。
My tummy hurts now because I ate all those noodles. At any rate, this is no time to quarrel.
犯人が神室鬼没に屋
Now
敷
that
内
we're
で
certain
入ってい
the
ることが
culprits
間違
would
い
leave
な
the
くなって
mansion
い
at
ます。
will and strike out of nowhere.
私たちは明日まで身を守ることだけに専念しなく
We
てはなりま
must
せ
give
ん。
our undivided attention to surviving until tomorrow.
夏日おばさんに極
I
めて
agree
同感だ
strongly
ぜ
with that Nazi. I drew up
犯人探し
this
は今夜ゆっ
fucking
くりで
charm
きる
in
さ
my fucking ass. We can figure out who the culprit is at our leisure tonight.
今はどこで籠城するかを考えた方がいい
For now. What the fuck? For now. For now. We're better off finding a place to barricade ourselves in. I just changed his voice like 3 times that line. What voice did I give him again?
Believe it.
Believe it.
As I said that.
Maybe like
Yeah, I pointed out the clock to everyone. It was already 8 at night. We had been receiving shocks over and over again since the early morning, but our bodies and minds were completely tired out. There's still a long, long time until tomorrow. We needed to find some place to barricade ourselves in so we could rest our bodies and get even the smallest amount of relief. I agree. Everyone is already pushing their mental and physical limits, myself included. I believe it would be wise to take that into account as we move forward.
そういうこった敵は
That's
マスター
right.
キーに準ずる
That's
ものを持
right.
っている構
There's
成
a
が
high
高い
probability that the enemy's got equivalent to the master key.
シャノンやカノン君
Were Shannon, Kanin-kun, and Goda-san holding master keys? Oh. Yes. They were supposed to have them on their persons during the work. Did we not check their pockets or anything like that?
You know, I think it's obvious the servants are in charge of this, and there's not a 19th person, it's all the servants.
は否定できねえな
Oh, okay. He's saying right there.
We didn't want to disturb the scene, so we didn't investigate closely. We can't eliminate the possibility someone stole a key from the
Okay, I understand that logic, but
Or they use the key
we
themselves.
we need to know if the keys are missing or not for like our own safety.
そもそも犯人はバラ庭園倉庫のシャッターを開け
In
る
the
ため
first
に
place, we know the culprit may have visited the certain room at some point to unlock the garden shed shutter.
そこでマスターキーをすでに入手していると考えて間違いない
What's
で
with
す
people that they obtained a master key from there earlier on?
You can still block things without keys, like just move the couch or something. You can block a door like that. There were many servants serving the Ushimi family.
Out disturbing the crime scene.
Well, no, like in a new area that's safe, they can close the door and like maybe push a bed against it or something.
I feel like if they keep locking themselves in like fucking rooms, they're all gonna fucking die.
They gotta lock themselves in one room.
And then it's gonna be some like death game in that fucking room. Just imagine. The walls are closing in right on you now. Solve this riddle and you guys will all escape. Choose the sacrifice and you all can escape. Or something like that, you know?
Damn, Kenzo had some crazy renovations in his own.
Crazy, the walls are gonna crush us. It's like some saw or like...
There were many servants serving the Ushimiya family. Because of that, there were several master keys. Furthermore, every time one employee started or finished working, the keys would pass between servants, and we had to acknowledge them. We had to acknowledge that this had probably gotten a bit sloppy at times in the past.
仮に殺された使用人の誰かのポケッ
Even
ト
if they
から
borrowed a bundle of keys from the pockets of one of our
そ
murdered
の鍵でも開
servants.
けられない
Is there any safe place that those keys can't even open?
私たちはお仕事の都合上
Because of the nature of our job, we have been entrusted with keys to all of the rooms. All of them in the mansion and in the guest house.
つまり私たちはどこへ立て
Oh,
ばって鍵
wait, why did I give that to her?
がないってわけ
So, in other words,
because like she's angry now, so she's having character development.
no matter where we hold up ourselves, so no matter where we hold up and lock ourselves in, it'd just be pointless. Fine. Who cares about locking up?
なんかいるもんか
You're gonna come, then bring it on, damn
一
it.
してやるぜ
I'll beat you at your own game.
敵は正面から来ないよ
The enemy won't approach us from the foot. I mean, from the front.
母さんたちが帰る
Yeah, I don't know about the Persix. Well, if you look what happened to my parents and Canon-kun, and even grandfather, the enemy has only gone after isolated people,
部屋に固まっている僕たちのところ
and they
へ
don't have the power to assault all of us openly in a secure room.
そうだな。
That's right.
兄貴の言う通りだ。
It's just like Aniki says.
ひょっとすると
Maybe Nazi's rifle can serve as a
抑
deterrent
止
to
効
stop
果とし
them
て
from
成立し
attacking.
てるのかもしれない
Has she checked if the gun's loaded?
I'm assuming so. They didn't say that, but I'm assuming that she did.
I'm assuming she didn't. And she's gonna die because her gun's not loaded.
I hope so. That is so, but
マリア、言いたいことがあるんだろうが、そいつは飲み込んでしばらく黙ってる。
Sorry, I just read that. I forgot. Like I was like, oh, they're reading the line for me.
Maria, I know you want to say something, but keep it to yourself and stay quiet for a while.
It's a shame. She was gonna reveal who the killer was, and then Battler told her to not say. Maria probably wanted to say something about how witches weren't afraid of things like guns. But if she were to say it out loud, the atmosphere around here would get pretty edgy. I had noticed and decided to put a stop to it. If I may, I do know of one place that cannot be entered, even with the servant's key rings.
それはどこです
What's that?
That would be the master's study.
I thought so.
I'm against this.
様の気持ち
I don't even want to think about going in grandfather's creepy room.
あの部屋に入れる鍵
How many keys can gain access to that room? There are two. I always have one on my person. The other was held by the master himself, but just now I found it on the corpse in the boiler room. Inu-san took a handkerchief out of his pocket and opened it up, showing the burnt and filthy study key. Then he showed it along with his own key, which had once lent to Natsuhi. Normally it would have been proper to leave the master's key for the police, but because of the master's orders to protect the safety of the study, I borrowed it for the time being. Oh, I see. Which means that Kenzo-san's study is the only place where we can be safe.
そういうことになりますね
It would appear that way.
あの怪しげな匂いの部屋に一晩
I
も
don't
立
even
て
want
こ
to
も
think
るな
about
ど
shut up
考えたくもありま
about
せん
being shut up in that strange room all night.
あの部屋が一番安全であることを
But it appears that we
Ima wa
must
mitomena
acknowledge that this
kereba
room is
naranai
safer than
youdessu.
anywhere else now. I think we also must acknowledge that
その安全な部屋に閉じこもってたじい様を
The
犯人が連れ出して殺してる。
freaking killed them.
even
絶
though
対安全とは言
that
い切れない。
grandfather locked himself in the safe room, the culprit brought him out and killed him. Can't be certain it's truly safe.
I think
バトラ君の説の
does no one here know
おじいさまがうまく
Bob's
レシートをやり過ご
grandfather's
して
fucking
自分の意思
personality?
で部屋を出た
I don't think he probably got willingly killed. Let's be he was willingly sacrificed or whatever the fuck.
According to your theory, grandfather cleverly found a way around the receipt trick and left the room of his own free will. Free will.
籠城の価
If
値
so,
は
the room might be a good place to barricade ourselves in after all.
楽観的すぎだぜ、兄貴。
You're too optimistic, Aniki.
However, at the same time, I thought he brought up a pretty interesting point. After all, this gives us a chance to question the enemy, the witch herself, about how the sealed door had been opened. If we assume the culprit used some kind of technique to kidnap grandfather from his study, they'd have to show us the same trick again if they wanted to assault us in the study. And that'd give us a chance to make the culprit prove how they did it right before our eyes. If she really was a witch, we'll be forcing her to use her little magic trick to open the door right in front of us. That's probably impossible. If you spin the chessboard around, it's obvious the culprit is acting in a way that'll make us think they're a witch. If she really is a witch, well,
I think features exists, but I don't think It's the magic power.
What if the door just opened? All she's got to do is appear in front of us and wow us into a colorful display of magic. Since she's avoided doing that, everything must be the work of a fake witch who wants to make us think she's real. Therefore, a culprit who used a technique other than magic to defeat the closed room couldn't open the door before our eyes.
They're gonna die.
Is grandma? Oh, there's a stop bubble. Is grandfather's room big enough for the 8 people? Oh, Jesus.
Yes. There's a bed, a sofa, and blankets. So while it is not luxurious, it'll be more than suitable for spending the night. There is also a sink, a bathroom, a refrigerator, and liquor cabinet.
Wow, that's incredible. But isn't that weird? You're saying he built another house inside of a house? That's pretty cramped. What the fuck? That's pretty cramped for the last house of someone like our grandfather who brought a whole island and realized all of his dreams. That's such a fucking hard.
I don't even know
sentence
what
to
that
read.
means. That's pretty cramped for the last house of someone like our.
This is such a fucking hard sentence to read, man. What the hell?
That's right. Some point in time, father probably couldn't keep peace in any other place, even inside the mansion.
We always sneered about how he shut himself up in there. And this time, we're the ones who are going to get shut up ourselves. Just gonna spat out the words. Just a good job. Sounds like you'd rather go search for the culprit than stay shut up somewhere. Why do they keep saying shut up?
Yeah, I feel like I want them to shut up. So this is like in advance.
Isn't it like shut in?
Shut in, yeah.
Of course, I don't think we'll be able to find them if we just start searching on our own. In the end, we can't do anything but wait. And it doesn't matter where we wait, does it? I'm not gonna run away or hide. Why don't we just take it easy in the parlor, watching TV or something while we wait for Beatrice-sama to appear?
I feel fine if she doesn't appear. There's no need for us to be the ones to expose the culprit.
Will said, we shouldn't take needless risks before the police arrive.
Thank you, Dr. Nanjo. I think we should move to Father's study. There's no proof that it isn't safe since Mother was taken out of here. I can't deny the possibility that, as Butler can reason, Grandfather left the study of his own accord and was attacked outside.
A while back, I proposed a strange theory as a stopgap measure, but just as Aunt Ava said, even though that trick would be possible, I couldn't explain what motive could have made Grandfather sneak out of his own study in such a troublesome way. Plus, Grandfather couldn't even have used that trick unless he knew that this receipt was wedged in the door. Aunt Ava hadn't pointed out that last part, but it's clear how absurd the theory was. Does that mean the sealed door formed a closed room just as Aunt Ava claimed? Is it an undeniable fact that Aunt Natsuhi was the culprit? If Aunt Ava were here now, she'd probably make a claim openly and blow my strange theory away. But anyway, I had to admit that a room with both a bed and a toilet and that all eight people could be shut up in, and with only 2 keys, both of which were gathered here, had to be the safest place in the mansion right now. At the very least, I figured this would be better than just staying shut up in the parlor and hoping nothing would go wrong. Wait, have we been safe only because we've been shut up in the parlor? Oh, I'm squeezing my fucking bottle. Stop saying that phrase. What if leaving that room and moving to an unexplored location is actually more dangerous? Ah, it's useless, it's all useless. My flimsy head is about to break out in a fever. If I keep spinning the chessboard around, right and wrong will eventually switch places over and over, and I won't be able to believe in anything. When it seems like the culprit is one of the 18, I want to believe in Beatrice. And once I start believing in Beatrice, I want to start finding the culprit amid the 18. If that keeps spinning around forever, in the end, my thoughts won't have taken one step where they started. How far back is the past was it that Kairi-san taught me about chessboard thinking? A concept of examining the situation by spinning it around and thinking from the enemy's side. I seem to remember being so interested by it back then. I used it to guide all my thinking. By the way, Kairi-san was Dad's co-worker back then. I never dreamed that she'd someday be added to our family. Didn't Kairi-san tell me something once? I get the feeling that she once said that, while this chessboard thinking was one way to look at things, it certainly wasn't all-powerful, and it wouldn't be too good to rely on it too much. And chessboard thinking is my own interpretation of something called game theory, which I read about in a book long ago. The game theory. It's a very interesting subject, so you should tackle it yourself when you get into college, Valor-kun.
I want to try it. If I could study and perfect my chessboard thinking, wouldn't it be fun to be able to read any opponent's move, wouldn't it?
But you can't believe in it blindly. Game theory is a very deep and complicated subject. Chessboard thinking is just my interpretation that skims the surface of game theory. In order to thoroughly read your opponent's moves, like you're imagining, you need to study your opponent. Additionally, while my chessboard theory is convenient and practical, it is imperfect. It has many weak points despite its convenience.
Weak points?
Yes. Chessboard thinking is founded upon game theory. When you thoroughly investigate game theory, it boils down to math. Do you know what the weak point of math is? It's noise. And, okay, let me take a sip of water for this. In math, when you write 1 + 1 = 2, that process will always result in 1 + 1 = 2, no matter how many billions of years pass, nothing more, nothing less. That's because there's absolutely no noise mixed in. But for example, unlike math, the Japanese language has noise mixed in. Kanji is a good example. Old kanji and new kanji are slightly different, which represents an introduction of noise created by the changes between time periods. Isn't history the same? There are dozens of policies that seem foolish in the modern era but were meaningful at some point in the past. Because the rules of chess are fixed, when a pair of experts are discussing one particular layout, it's possible they could reach the same conclusion whether they're from 100 years in the past or 100 years in the future. However, if the rules of chess had gone through massive changes over time, it's possible that a discussion about the same layout would have changed as well. The chess meta is not evolving. They should add a new chess piece. Let's get some a patch update for chess.
They just freaking updated chess. You know, of chess, I'm pretty sure. What was? Fuck, I forgot what I was talking about. You know what we should talk about instead of chess? Was it Was it the game called
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was fun as hell.
Yeah,
Beachers and Battlers should play
a real man's game.
A real man's game.
That's right. Even in the worlds of humans... events in the world of humans are normally full of noise. Aren't human emotions that way? Even if the exact same thing occurs more than once, there's no guarantee that humans will always act in predictable fashion. The moment we try to use math-based theory to predict someone's actions, we must be aware that our theory has built-in weaknesses and limits. Simply put, chessboard thinking is extremely weak against noise and fickleness, as well as mistakes or incorrect knowledge. That's right. Kairi-san definitely said that. Chess has always been a game where both sides play the same rules and fight with the same conditions for victory. That's why it's possible for both sides to predict each other's moves. It's possible to read your opponent because you can always suppose they'll make the best moves they can find. But what if your opponent is fickle or a bit tired, and makes a move that can hardly be considered the best? Or what if the game has a special rule, some unknown thing that only the enemy knows about and can use? In fact, what if the opponent actually has some kind of goal other than victory? Think from your enemy's perspective. That's the basis of chessboard thinking. Which means if you misread your enemy, the answer you draw from the process will be complete rubbish, useless. So far, I've used the chessboard theory to get several vague bits of information about the culprit hiding behind this case, or so I think. However, I don't know anything about the culprit. Am I just playing around in a labyrinth of thought?
I am the alpha. I am the leader. I am
Haru-san was here at a time like this. She'd probably be able to notice something with her much sharper thinking ability. Unlike the last moment, Jessica resisted moving into grandfather's study, but in the end, Aunt Natsuhi persisted and we decided to move there. Everyone is completely wrapped in paranoia by now. Kumasawa-san had prepared dinner at one point, but during the time we discovered the death of George Aniki's parents, both the kitchen and the parlor had been left empty. Someone suggested the food might have been poisoned while we were gone. Because of that, we were unable to even touch the food that Kumasawa-san had gone through the trouble to make for us. The manner in which the first 6 were killed was still unknown, but it certainly could have been poison. Certainly, that would have allowed even a single person to carry out the murder of 6 large adults. Furthermore, this idea made it easy to imagine that there being only a single culprit, one who'd be afraid of Aunt Natsuhi's rifle. It was very good for our emotional state stability. My god. But the fatigue and hunger were even harsher than we imagined. Bro, it's been one... Look. Maybe because... I've gone like more than a day without eating. It's fine. You guys can miss dinner. It's not the end of the world.
No more food for 1 hour. I feel like, you know, I've gone like 3 days without eating before for an anime figure.
What?
When I was like in 3rd grade or 4th grade, it was like the summer, and I was talking to my aunt about how much like I could live without, like I would sacrifice so much for an anime figure of my favorite character, Nagito Komaeda. Komaeda.
I was gonna
Komaeda.
say I've gone like 2 days without eating because I was
Yeah.
depressed.
Oh, but yeah, I've had those days too. But like, because like I used to like, one time I got so depressed I didn't eat for like 2 weeks. But like I ate very little, but it was just really hard for me to eat. But in the 3rd grade, I forced myself, 4th grade, I forced myself not to eat. And she made a bet. If I didn't eat for like 2 or 3 days, then like,
That's not healthy for a kid.
I got the figures though. Okay? And my aunt was like so worried. It was like talking to my dad, and I was like, no, I have to do the bet. And like my other aunt was begging my other aunt to please stop the bet. What if they get anorexia or something? And like, and I was like, no, I need that figure. And you know what? I got it. So yeah, these people don't, you know, if I had the possibility of dying, I could miss one dinner, okay?
That's what I'm saying.
Loki, I don't even eat breakfast. These people like eat way too much. I know it's like also like kind of a cultural thing, but still.
Fatigue and hunger. Kumasawa made a proposal and we all went to the kitchen. There we gathered some canned food and other things that had been hard to poison to take in with us. What if they poked that tiny hole and siphoned poison into it? What if they called the manufacturing company to poison it? Thinking 3 steps ahead. All of Kumasawa-san's efforts to reward us with just a little dinner. All of Kumasawa-san's efforts to reward us with just a little dinner on this savage day regularly came to nothing. The food piled on the serving cart just looked a little sad. At least you guys got canned food, bro. Just fucking eat it.
I feel bad too. I'll get poisoned. It's okay.
We all climbed the stairs. Natsuhi, who was in the lead, warily stared into the darkness with both eyes with the barrel of the gun. Once we dragged ourselves up to the 3rd floor, just as Natsuhi had warned us before, there was a mixture of a chemical smell and a sickly sweet aroma, a stench hanging in the air that felt like it was eating into our heads.
I see. This kind of stench probably would give you a headache if you were shut in for a whole night. I know it's a bit late, but I'm with Jessica. I vote against going to grandfather's study.
It felt like the stench was floating out of this magnificent door.
Okay,
What?
you know why
Wait.
it probably stinks in there? He probably fucking died in there. Maybe you guys should fucking, like,
I just noticed
investigate.
these doorknobs have the scorpion on them.
Oh. Hey, maybe that's why.
It was the door to the forbidden study, which should defend against anyone who enters it. While Genji-san unlocked the door, Maria stared at the door and the doorknob with great interest. Oh, okay, they're gonna point it out.
すごいドア
Oh, incredible door.
古くいかめしくて
It looks
冗
like an
談も
old,
通じなさそうな
old and strict. It
い
looks
か
like
に
a,
もじい様の書斎に
and like it
ふさわ
stop
しい
any
ところ
chokes
だよな
cold. A perfect door for grandfather's study.
霊的な
The
悪
power
意
to
を
ward
退
off
ける
spiritual
力が
menaces is
とても
strong
強
here.
く込められている多分ベアトリーチェはこの
Beatrice
扉
probably
を
couldn't
開け
open
られ
this
ない
door.
ね
Oh?
それどういうことだよ
What does that mean?
Maria pointed at the doorknob. A scorpion crest. No, a design like a magic circle arranged around a scorpion was inscribed there. Design, that's right. Isn't it just like the keychain charms Maria gave Jessica and me yesterday?
火星の5の魔法陣は
The
強
fifth
力な
magic
魔
circle
除
of Mars is a strong ward against magic.
けしかもこの魔法陣は相
Additionally,
当
this
丹念
magic
に
circle
作ら
was
れて
very
いて
digitally constructed
力
and
が
is
よ
full
く
of
満ち
power.
ている魔のものであるベアト
Such
リ
a
ーチェに
magic
とって
circle can be
こ
quite
の魔法
troublesome
陣
with
は
the
とても
beings
厄
of
介
magic
だろう
like
それ
Beatrice.
は心強いじゃねえか
Isn't that comforting?
この部屋なら
Are you
ベア
saying
ト
we
リーチ
can
ェのマッチ
escape
から逃げられるっ
Beatrice's
てことだ
clutches in
ろ
this room?
うちの魔女様は
Our
実
little
に
witch
頼
here
もしい
sure
ぜ
is reliable.
ならベア
Then how
トリ
did
ーチェはどうやって
Beatrice get
中に
grandfather
入
out?
バトラが推理した通り
Just
だ
as Battler
ベア
reasoned,
トリーチェは中に
Beatrice
入れ
can't
ない
go inside.
でも彼女には
However,
魔
she
法
has
がある
both
し
magic and
使うわけ
familiars.
それらを使って
Using
お
them,
じい
she
様
might
が
have
自
been
分
able
から
to
書
have
斎を出て
grandfather
くる
leave
よう
to
に仕向けることは
leave
で
the
き
study
る
of his
か
own accord.
Maybe magic and familiars is code for the people in the village underneath the building.
I don't think there's I believe there's a bunker, but I don't believe there's fucking villagers, dude.
Well, I don't mean like actual villagers. I mean the bunker.
I think magic and familiars, it's just the servants. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I think the servants lured him out, and the servants then killed him. I think the servants are responsible for all the murders. I read that in a manga.
吸血鬼は十字架が
I've
怖くて
seen a
近づ
bunch
け
of
ねえけ
scenes where the
ど
vampires were frightened of crosses. They couldn't get close,
使い魔たちはへっちゃらなん
but
で
their familiars were just
使い魔
fine.
を襲
So
わせ
they
るみ
made
た
their
いなシーン
families
を
into
読んだ
familiars
ことがあ
attack.
る
バトラたちに昨日あ
The
げた
Scorpio
サソリ
keychains
の
I
キー
gave
ホルダーの
yesterday
よう
also
な
had
お
a
守
fifth
りも
magic circle
こ
known
の
as
火
Mars
星
on
の
them.
5の魔法陣込められている
The
力は
circle
ビビたる
dwelling
もの
within
だけ
them
ど
was
この
weak,
島を
but
出る
they
ま
should
で
have been
の
enough to
間を
protect you
守っ
until
て
we
くれる
leave
だ
the
けなら
island.
十分だったなくしちゃったそうだけど
Although
ね
it sounds like you've lost yours, right? I'm not laughing.
サソリのキーホルダーのお守り
Scorpion keychain charms.
Yeah, the charm I gave you yesterday was something I got a gift from Maria. Did Natsuhi ever give Jessica the gift that she got out?
母さんの方がいいかなって
No.
あの時は思って
The little mirror. I heard it would repel... No, because they got caught up by the thingy. So she has the mirror on her. I heard it would repel magic if you put it on your doorknob, and at the time, I thought it might be better if you had it.
そうでしたか
That's
ジェ
so.
シカにしては変わったも
That
のを
was
持
an
って
odd
い
thing
る
for you to be
と
carrying
思ってい
around.
ました
夏日おばさんがあれを
How Natsuhi put that
ドアノブに
on her doorknob?
ええ夕べそう聞き
Last night,
寝る前
after I
に
heard about it
扉
from
の内側
Jessica,
のドアノブに
I
か
hung
け
it
ま
from my
した
doorknob inside my door.
なら
And
Natsuhi
oh,
おばさんはとても
Nazi,
幸運
you're
だ
really
よ
fortunate.
そうだったなら
You
夕
did
べ
it. You
ベ
just
アトリ
couldn't
ーチ
lay
ェは
a
夏
finger
日お
on
ば
me
さんに
yesterday.
指一本触れられなかった
指
ベアトリーチェはさぞや
I
悔しがっ
think
たと
Beatrice
思う
must
よ
have been really annoyed. I'm not laughing, bro.
Yatorichi annoyed? Couldn't lay one finger. Natsuhi thought back on the eerie scribble she'd seen in the morning, as though someone had been tearing at outside of her door with blood-soaked hands, and gasped in surprise. Could it be that this witch, who called herself Beatrice, tried to enter the door through Natsuhi's own room? But the magic repelling charm had been hanging from the inside, so she couldn't break through that door. He was annoyed. And she scratched it? Well, why don't they have one of those for every door? That's fucked up. Kenzo doesn't care about his guests.
No, he quite literally doesn't. He wants to sacrifice all of them.
Quit it. Don't talk about that. The witches don't exist. The culprit does. And they're human just like us. If you need proof, why don't we dice her up and see if her blood's red? Damn it. Damn it. How could you do that to Canon-kun? I don't care that the others died. But Canon-kun.
Canon. Canon was probably in on it all along, though, let's be honest. Okay? He probably...
Genji unlocked the door. 8 people entered Kinzo's study. And Kinzo was right there. Grandfather's study. I heard rumors about it beforehand, so I wasn't that shocked. He had done nothing more than fortify it thoroughly with his occult hobbies. If grandfather's hobby had been chasing after pop idols, these walls might have been buried underneath idol posters. But I didn't understand it. But even I didn't understand it. I did realize this room was a bundle of his pastimes. Even so, I couldn't help but remain dumbfounded by the smell of his creepy medicine and the sweet stench of that seemed to melt my head. Okay, that's the sound that plays when you close the game and open it. When the door was closed, it automatically made a clunk. I see. This has an auto lock that activated whenever the door was closed. So there were only 2 keys that could open this door from the outside, both of which were in this room. In other words, it had become a closed room. The shutter, the receipt, the chain, and now the auto lock. This 4th door had the most magnificent lock yet, and this was doubtlessly a closed room. Just to make absolutely sure this room secured, we checked all over for ways in and out. The window was tightly locked. This should have been enough, but just in case we tried knocking all over the walls. After all, we had talked about there being a hidden room in this room. We couldn't find anything suspicious. Grandfather's study was very large. Even though we called it a study, it wasn't really a single room. It could be divided up into 4 basic sections: a study section, a bedroom section, a toilet bathroom section, and a section for cooking that had a sink. See, the study really does have enough to live in. Now I see grandfather could live his whole life in this room without ever leaving. It seemed grandfather wasn't in the habit of watching TV because there was no television or even a radio in this room. We couldn't do anything except pass the time by listening to the sound of the rain until tomorrow morning. Dr. Nanjo looked closely at the chessboard, then sat on the table in front of the sofa and muttered. It was apparently the partly finished chess match he'd been playing with grandfather until yesterday. The black had the white pretty well cornered, and it looked like the checkmate would be reached within a few more moves. The last part of the endgame. Even though checkmate had almost been reached, the endgame had been rushed. And the end was never completed. And so, son, it seems we weren't able to get this match seen through all the way. Dr. Nanjo. It was Kinzo-san's first time for... What? I'm fucking blind. I was Kinzo-san's friend for a long time, but I never knew about more than half of him. I believe 2 Kinzos existed. A wise one and one trapped by some madness.
I read that completely wrong.
I never understood anything about him. Especially when it came to Beatrice-sama. It would seem like his personality changed. In the direction of Kuwasama-san's upward gaze, a portrait of Beatrice could be seen. It wasn't massive like the one hanging in the entrance hall, but small, made for this room. Grandfather apparently spent every day in this room and so much of his time talking to the witch in the portrait. Who is Beatrice to grandfather in the first place? Right now, you couldn't just explain it away by saying it was a story made from parents to frighten children away from wandering into the forest. While eating the canned food we brought up from the kitchen, we talked about who Beatrice was. Whether the culprit was Beatrice herself or someone pretending to be her, whether they were a witch or human, that was besides the point. The woman in the portrait was strongly related to the roots of the background of this case. You couldn't talk about this case without talking about her. That's right. Mom, you picked up the culprit's letter in Aunt Ava's room, right?
ええ
Yes,
まだ開けていませ
I
ん
still haven't opened it.
開けてみましょう
Let's give it a try.
Aunt Natsuhi took out that Western envelope. Genji-san pulled out a paper knife out of his drawer in the study desk and handed it to her. While watching her open it, George Aniki grimaced slightly. After all, it was a letter left at the site where his parents had been murdered. There was a good chance the contents would say something unbearable to Aniki. Aunt Natsuhi also seemed to realize that. So she glanced over the contents first without reading it out loud. We were a little frightened what she might grimace after reading something shocking, but she just frowned unhappily. What does it say?
不愉快な一文があります
There's one unpleasant sentence.
私たちを挑発するつもり
It
なの
must
で
be
しょ
trying to provoke us.
Natsuhi, after deciding that the contents could be shown up to the children, set it openly on the table. Everyone stared at it at the same time.
我が名をたたえよ
Praise my name?
なんだよこ
What the hell?
れ先生
That's annoying.
ベアトリーチェの勝ち名乗り
It was probably Beatrice declaring herself the victor. Damn it.
大方また怪しげな
Now
魔
you're
法
hoping
陣が
another
出て
weird
くるのを
magic
期待し
circle
てたんだ
would
ろう
pop, show up.
Oh, there was no magic circle on Canon's death.
It was on his chest.
There was a circle on his chest?
It said, yeah, bloody inscription was on his, got bloodied on his chest.
Oh. Alright, what about Kinzo?
Kinzo? There was the magic knife, but no inscription.
Interesting.
魔法陣ではなかったけどね
It wasn't for it. It wasn't a magic circle.
想像は裏切られなかった
But
よ
my expectations haven't been betrayed.
どういう意味でしょう
What could that mean?
自分の存在を
I wonder if she wants to tout her own existence.
そう考えるのが妥当でしょう
That seems reasonable.
この手紙で初めて
This letter,
私
we
た
know
ちは
that
昨夜の手紙の主が犯人であると理
the
解
letter
で
is
き
the culprit.
ここに書かれている内容よりも昨夜
I
と同
think
じ
the
風
identical
潮だという
envelope
と
is
ころ
more
に
significant
意
than what
味
is
がある
written.
ものと思う
封筒も風浪も間違いなく親方様が使われていたのです
Without a doubt. This is the type of envelope and sealing wax that the master used.
おお
I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore. This is the first time I've seen anything like this since I started working for the Ushiromiya family.
昨日の手紙の言う通りならベアトリーチェ
Going by
は
last
自
night's
称
letter, we
じ
just
いさん
claimed
の
to be
最高
grandfather's
福
oldest
祉
confidant.
じい様も常々
Grandfather
So,
often
口にしてたん
said
です
the
よ
same
ね。
thing in the past, right?
I spoke to Genji-san and Kuwasama-san, who nodded together.
ってことはじい
Guess
さ
that
んの
means you
次
two
に
know
詳しい
more
の
about
は
her than anyone else
現地
except
さんと
grandpa.
話してくれないっすか
Could you tell us?
私は長いことわざと
For a
耳
long
にしなか
time,
っ
I
た話
purposely
です
avoided this topic.
ですがこの後に及んでは
Now
そうも言っていられ
that
ま
has
せん
come to this, I can no longer do so.
源氏知っている限りを話しなさい
Genji, tell us everything you know. I fucking murdered all these hoes.
Genji didn't answer. Did he remain silent despite his knowledge, or did he know nothing at all? Still, I had a good guess. The ghost story of the witch Beatrice had long been deified among the servants. He had probably been very close to grandfather and his occult hobbies. So there was a good chance that he'd been indoctrinated with even weirder things and had increasingly come to deify the witch. As grandfather's most trusted servant, who had sworn loyalty to him, he might be the most influenced by the illusion that the witch grandfather had created. So, there was only one reason that Genji-san was to remain silent. He could speak, but it would definitely cause a backlash, so it was better if he kept his mouth shut. And it wasn't likely to believe him anyway. Something along those lines. A short while ago, Maria had been more than willing to speak bluntly and unrestrainedly. That had earned her a scuffle with Jessica. It was natural for Genji-san to keep his silence.
お父様の
Was she
愛人
father's
ですか？
concubine?
His concubine. That could be possible. For ordinary poor people, polygamy isn't only viewed negatively from a moral perspective. It is also an unmaintainable financial situation. But that isn't the case for the very rich. It's possible for them to have another lover in addition to their real wife. We can't deny the possibility that grandfather had another woman in his life besides grandmother.
かもな。
Maybe
お母様は生きてた。
when grandmother was alive, I hear she was pretty sure of it.
浮気相手がいるってな。
We thought he was cheating on her.
俺はてっきりそれは。
I always thought she meant grandfather's imaginary witch.
Now this is getting really interesting.
This is me in 80 years obsessing over Rosado.
Bro.
I'll never let it go.
源氏さんは俺に言ったよな。
Told me, didn't you, Genji-san?
ベアトリーチェは
You said Beatrice has been working for grandfather since the mansion, before the mansion was being finished.
お屋敷が竣工したの
I
は
heard the construction
昭
of
和
the mansion was
27年
completed
と聞いてい
in
ま
the
す。
Showa 27, 1952.
ってことは
That means this person called Beatrice was in a relationship with grandfather since at least 30 years ago.
その
Could
30
be a
年前
concubine
の
of
愛
30 years
人
ago? Or maybe a relative or hidden child of that person. Hold
何
kids
か
in
の
the
恨み
grudge.
があって
Hold some kind of grudge and be planning revenge. I see this starting to understand a Western mansion
洋
mystery.
館ミステリーっぽい。
汚らわしい話で
It's
す
a
が
filthy topic, but the
一
easiest
番
line
納
of
得で
reasoning
き
to
る筋
accept.
書きです。どうですか、源氏
What do you think, Genji?
おそらく
The master surely has feelings of deep love for her.
亡くなられた奥
There can be no mistake that he cared for her more than his late wife.
違いありません
ベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだよ。
Who's this person called Beatrice?
今はどうして
And what she's doing? What's she doing now?
お屋敷ができるよう
I've
に
heard that she passed away during
聞いています
before the mansion was completed. I can't read.
すでに死んでいる
She's already dead?
はい
Yes,
親方様は
the master was deeply stricken by grief at her loss,
ベアトリーチェ様を
and he devoted himself at the art of black magic as a means to revive her.
親方様はベアトリーチェ
The master loved Beatrice-sama from the bottom of his heart.
のような狂気
It
に
was that madness which drove him to do all that you see here. As Genji-san said this, he wrapped his arms, as though asking us to look at the room, filled with the signs of grandfather's madness. We were all at a loss for words. Normally, black magic seems like it'd just be creepy, but it's really hard to imagine why someone would be so enraptured by it. Since Kenzo was just an eccentric who had restored the Ushirimiya family amidst his madness, nobody had tried to understand him. The only thing on grandfather's mind had been the loss of a beloved woman and his inescapable sorrow. Earlier, the room had seemed creepy, but in an instant, it had changed into something we could understand completely. The creepy books, the magic circles, the medicine, all of it all existed simply because he wanted to revive the face of a single woman who had left his world over 30 years ago.
一度だけ
The master only told me about Beatrice-sama's story once when he was very drunk. Although I have forgotten the details, it was a deep, deep love enough to make a woman like me jealous.
金蔵さんは
Bless you.
後宮家の当主
Bless you.
Thank you.
When Kinzo-san succeeded the headship of the Ushirimiya family, his marriage to his late wife had already been decided by the few surviving family elders.
亡くなった奥さん
つまり後ろ宮家
So
に得になる女性との結婚を強制
he was forced into a marriage with some woman who would benefit the Ushirimiya family.
さようです
That is correct. Kinzo-san was installed as the head of Kinzo-san was installed as the head who would revive the family, and had to bear the entirety of that heavy responsibility.
そんな金蔵さんの
I do not pretend to know the details of when or where Kinzo-san first met her.
他は
それ以上
Guess it'd be rude to say any more than that.
水だな。
That was when grandfather truly fell in love for the first time. Just how deep was his affection for her. That was easy to see. That was easy to see just by looking around us. This room was covered with piles upon piles of things having to do with black magic, and grandfather spent every day shut in here, immersed in his research, and isolated from the outside world, never regretting 1 minute of it. You couldn't help but realize the depths of grandfather's love for Beatrice.
私
I had it all wrong, Genji-san.
何をでしょうか
What do you mean by that?
私
I've always thought that maybe your servants believed blindly in the witch because you were influenced by the grandfather's creepy black magic hobby. That's not how it was, right? By acting as though Beatrice's soul had at least been restored and existed inside the mansion, they might have hoped to soothe the grandfather's heart. With closed eyes and expression, with closed eyes and expression of one remembering something from the distant past, Genji had broken his long silence. In making that confession, he probably felt like he was betraying his one and only master in the most serious way, even though that person was already dead. I like this reveal. That's really cool. That's an interesting interaction between the servants and Kinzo.
I don't buy it.
Huh?
I don't buy it.
If I was delusional at like 7 years old and I thought Rosado was real, would you pretend that he was?
Sure. But also, wait! I don't buy the fact that
Ooh.
the servants are just, I don't buy, like, this at all. Sure, I don't think Beatrice, I think Beatrice is real in some kind of form. But, I don't think, because, like, what's happening right now is someone trying to make it seem like Beatrice is a witch who's alive. Like, all the murders are done in a way that makes Beatrice seem alive.
Yeah,
I do think someone, especially the servants, are doing something suspicious.
Beatrice has revived as a witch, and she is in the mansion even now. Genji had said it, believed it, and made people believe it, and would take it with him to the grave. This might have been the very last service he could offer up to his master. The legend of the witch, the mysterious tale of Rakanjima that was still whispered amongst the servants. Its true nature was a sad lie. No, it was an act of kindness towards grandfather, who had lost the person he loved above all else. Be a terrible VA. I just misread every line and I have to say it twice.
私はお父様の前で魔女を否定する話を
never denied the
何度か
witch's
口に
existence
し
in
た
front
覚
of
えがあります
father on multiple occasions.
それ
Now
が
I
どれ
finally
だけ
understand
お
how
父
much
様を
the
傷
things
つ
have
けてい
rooted
た
him.
わかります
今の僕にならわか
They're
る
trying to frame it as like father was in love with someone from years ago. I don't buy it. Just like how I don't buy Shannon's love for George.
Right now, I can understand very well.
シャノンを蘇らせる方法が
If I thought I could revive Shannon using black magic, I'd immediately become the next owner of this room and start researching.
兄貴
Haneki.
Another strand of tears dripped from George's eyes. Maybe his tears were infectious. Tears rose to Jessica's eyes as well, and she sniffled.
ベアトリーチェは言っていたよ。
Beatrice said it.
もうじき蘇
Very
る
soon,
ことがで
she'll
き
be
る
able to revive people.
会うことができる
You'll be able to meet them, she said.
Very soon, the door to the Golden Land will be opened. In the Promised Land that glitters gold, the souls of all the dead will be resurrected, along with the love that had been lost. Then I will sleep into the world of peacefulness for all time.
そう言ったのか。 マリアに手
Did
紙
you
を
say
渡した
that?
ベアトリーチェ。
Beatrice who gave you the letter?
信じないよね
You don't believe, do you?
ここにじいさまがいたなら
My grandfather were here.
きっと喜んだろう
Sure,
な。
he'd be happy.
もうじきベアトリーチェが
Sure,
蘇
he'd
る
jump
こと
with
に
joy.
さぞや
How that
踊り上が
Beatrice
って
is
喜ん
about to be
だろう
revived.
な。なら俺は
In
信
that
じた
case,
ぜ。
I believe.
じいさまが半生をかけて研究したこと
Grandfather
で
gave up half
蘇り
his
に
life for doing
愛
this
した
research.
女の魂
Trying
が
to
蘇っ
resurrect
た
the
と
soul of
信
the
じ
woman
て
he loved and
寿
spending
命を
his
全
life
うできるって言
believing.
うんなら
I'll believe too.
バトラ
Butler.
一人の女性をずっと愛し続けた気持ちが
When you love a single woman for so long,
真実
that people around you catch on to it, and it becomes the truth.
それを気遣いと呼べば
Maybe you could say they're just being polite for the sake of your
今
feelings.
の僕は
But right here, now, I like to call that magic.
あげたいね
気遣いじゃない
Magic.
It's magic. Is it just being polite?
本当に
It
魔法
really
だよ
is magic.
魔女だよ
She's a witch.
やっぱり誰にもベアトリーチェの姿は見えないんだね
Some time passed. As we listened to the sound of the rain, we considered what kind of love and madness might have been possessed the owner of the room and had spent half his life in here.
女の私から聞けばお父様の純愛の気持ちも少しは理解したいところですが
If you ask me as a woman, then while I'd like to be understanding of father's feelings of
そ
true
れでは
love,
お母様の立つ瀬がありません
it did leave mother in an awkward position.
I agree. Cheating is cheating. No way to make it pretty.
それもそうだ
Yeah, that's right.
ばあさまが気の毒にな
Gotta
っち
feel
まう
sorry
ぜ
for grandmother.
それで
So, have there been any rumors about a child between Beatrice and grandfather?
って話はある
The keyword Beatrice had been hidden in every corner of this case, so it's natural to suspect some relative of hers. No,
そのような
I've not heard of anything like that.
仮にいたとしたら最愛
If
の
there
人
was
を忘
one,
れがたいとして
if there was one, I haven't saved them in like the entire stream. There was one, a memento of his most beloved person. He surely would have given everything to them, or given them all of his affection.
それがなく
So he ended up immersing himself in black magic and said, maybe we should assume there was no such child.
考えるべきな
そういえば
Come to think of it, that reminds me of a rumor I heard.
知ってるだろ
You know it,
じい
right?
さまが福音
The story about how grandfather heavily supported an orphanage called the Fukuin House?
よしなさい
Enough of that.
それはお父様を冒涜する中傷に過ぎません
More than slander, which would disgrace, desecrate father.
夏日おばさん
Tell us, Aunt Nazi.
隠し事はなしなのは
I think even you'd agree there's no time to hide things from each other.
くだらない話です
It's a worthless story.
お父様はその施設に
Father
莫大な
made
援助
massive donations
社
to
会
the
勉強の
orphanage
一環として
and had orphans employed as servants as the head of the family to give them to them the job
お父様
experience.
の汚らわしい趣味があると吹聴する愚か者がいたという
The
だけの
story in
話
question is simply drivel spread by fools who claim that father was using those orphans for some filthy hobby.
一時期それが
This is Maria's
プロ
voice.
魔
I
術
think.
の生贄にするためって
For a while, some guys even said he was collecting human sacrifices for his black magic. And he really is doing weird experiments and ceremonies in the room all the time, so I half believed it myself.
その福音の家出身の使用人っての
And these servants who came from Fukuin's house are
何人かいます
There are several of them, but Shannon and Cannon were the two scheduled during the family conference shift.
シャノンの
To resurrect Beatrice, He brought in servants from an orphanage as human sacrifices? After all, everyone grandfather selected as a servant was young, about the same age as Cannon and Shannon. I was sure it was because grandfather had some bizarre hobby.
Jessica, mind your words.
When Aunt Natsuhi scolded her, the atmosphere immediately went sour and everyone fell quiet. However, something was tugging at the back of my mind. Sacrifices. Sacrifices. Human sacrifices brought over from an orphanage. What is it? Freaky words like sacrifices don't pop up often, and yet I've heard that word recently.
It was the fucking epitaph.
Some part of my memory is tugging at me. Hey, Beatrice, what do you know? I'd arrived in front of the portrait of Beatrice. It wasn't as massive as the one in the entrance hall, but that portrait, which had just been drawn by a famous painter, was still just as intimidating as its smaller size. Oh, hey.
Praise my name.
I don't see the word sacrifice.
It was like,
Oh, here. 6 will be chosen as sacrifices.
yeah, see, I'm not fucking crazy. You're acting like Battler with your reading comprehension.
Below it, just like in the entrance hall, was an epitaph that supposedly hinted at the location of the hidden gold.
See, and he mentions your cell, okay?
I was trying to find the word. Battler.
Sacrifices. Here. No, what?
What the hell, Battler? You're creeping me out.
6 sacrifices, and they're finally relating it to the epitaph.
Yeah. Both of my eyes were as wide as plates. Everything's been predicted right here from the very beginning. This is what, like, threw me off when I saw this before. But, like, there's just no way that they didn't think about the epitaph the entire time people were dying.
I thought they mentioned how, like, they were like, one of them was like, oh yeah, I feel like someone's trying to make it seem like the witch of the, like, Balor said it himself, they're trying to make it seem like the witch of the myth, but now he's suddenly starting to believe.
Everyone crowded around, and the same expression of shock rose to all of our faces. That's right, it's right here in the epitaph. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices.
There's no doubt. 6 people died at the beginning? Even on the shutter where the magic circle was drawn. No, where was he written? It mentioned offering of sacrifices. I've been saying that from the beginning!
That's right, Maria said it at the start, right after we found the 6 dead bodies. When Maria was still in the parlor watching TV, she said it. Ooh, the culprit isn't human. It's just the sacrifices chosen by the key.
This has nothing to do with the location of the hidden gold. It's instructions for a resurrection ceremony using black magic or something. It's magic! After all, this epitaph requires a large number of deaths. I would be reading in Battler's voice, but low-key my stomach hurts so bad.
Okay, we're gonna find a good place to stop soon. It sure does. Even reading it through quickly, there'd be 6 plus 2 plus 5. 13 people who must die. How many people are normally on the island?
使用人のシフトにも
Changes
よ
Hold
る
on.
で
depending
しょ
on
う
the
が
ships and servants, but
お父様
there's
夫
my
に
father.
私にジェシカ
Jessica and me.
Dude.
Oh no. Not in Umineko.
Alright.
Changes between ships and the servants, but there's my father, husband, Jessica, and me. And 2 to 3 servants.
昨日今日は5人集まってますが普段
Today
は
and
そこま
yesterday
でい
there
ま
are
せん
5 of them. But there aren't normally that many.
ってことはだ
Which means normally
この儀式を実行し
there
よう
would
と
be
した
enough sacrifices to carry
普
out
段
the
じゃ生贄が
ceremony.
足らないってわけだいや違うぜ
No, wait.
じいさまは福音の家から不気味な儀式の生贄にする
There's
た
a
めに使用
rumor
人を
Grandpa
取っ
was
たという
collecting
噂
servants from the orphanage to use sacrifices of previous ceremony.
つまりなんだよ
So what does that mean? He increased the number of servants to increase the number of sacrifices and waited for the annual family conference where everyone would be gathered?
この儀式を執り行え
Is it now the only time of the year this ceremony can be held?
唯一のタイミングだったってことじゃね
When Jessica screamed this, Maria broke out in a creepy laugh, looking truly pleased.
Have you heard of people making good bets to their fate?
Like throwing a sandal and saying that if it lands right side up, tomorrow will be sunny. Or saying that tomorrow will be a good day if a coin lands heads up. There are many little superstitions like that. Sometimes when your luck is down, you get bored, you roll the dice and you get 3 6s. You want to believe it's a portent of some miracle. When flipping a sandal, you have at worst a 50% chance. Even if you get it right side up, it's not worth much. But if you carelessly roll 3 dice and they all come up at 6, you might think it's a small miracle.
魔術にもそういう考えはあるんだよ
Magic works the same
限り
way.
なくありえない出目を期待して
Most
ひ
prayers
たすらに祈祷を
extremely
続け
unlikely
そう
signs.
して蓄えられた祈祷の念は奇跡の出
And
目
the
が
feelings
現
from
れ
all
た
this stored with prayers gain magical power and become incarnate.
おじいさまがしようと
My
した魔
father was
術
trying
は
to
多
perform,
分そういう
probably trying to
鍵が無
perform
作
that.
為に選ぶ生贄の抽選
Like he randomly selected sacrifices in a
それに
lottery.
万が一自分が当たることがないようにこの島に最も人が多くなる日を選
Wake up.
ぶ儀式を実行した
My tummy hurts. He chose the day with the greatest number. He chose the greatest number of people on the island to carry out the
バカバ
ceremony.
カしい
Ridiculous.
これらが全て
Are you saying the entire situation was caused by a mere ceremony or some bizarre magic?
Natsuhi yelled. She couldn't squell the fear that the scorpion charm might be the only reason she was still alive. She couldn't quell. If I hadn't received that charm from Jessica and hung it on my doorknob, Would I have been killed mixed along with those 6? And the strangest part is, even though I hung the charm from the inside of my door, they couldn't get through that door. The culprit noticed the charm from the outside of the door and gave up trying to open it. A human could not perceive that. The charm meant to stop something that was not human had it done exactly that. Impossible, impossible, impossible. But Natsuhi-san, the epitaph certainly does continue to fit even after that. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the two who are close. Could it be talking about Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama? Painful as it may be, we must reach that conclusion. And after the culprit killed them, they left a few words from the third twilight in the letter there.
That's right. After carrying out the second twilight, they left the third midnight in that place. Twilight. Please. Mr. Twilight was just like Natsuhi just read.
On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. Ah, if you read it this way, it just keeps going on, doesn't it? On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. Gouge the head and kill. George Aniki's parents were killed with those demon ice picks gouged to their heads. They were the second twilight. Someone else must have been gouged in the head.
That's grandfather. He was burned in an incinerator and her eyes were so drawn to the part we didn't notice. By his forehead. No, his head had been gouged.
Grandfather was the victim of the fourth twilight? Then Kanon-kun was... On the fifth twilight, gouge the chest and kill. We thought Kanon-kun's case was an unexpected encounter with the culprit, but that was wrong. From the very beginning, they planned to lure out someone alone and drive something through their chest.
But the culprit has spelled the epitaph this part.
That would make sense why they made the closing door sound. It was just bait.
Does that mean 3 people still have to die? It's gonna be Aunt Natsuhi, I'm sorry.
That's my goat. My wife. On the sixth twilight, gouge the head and gouge the stomach and kill. On the seventh, gouge the knee. On the eighth, gouge the leg. Yes. You could read it that way. Eee.
I wonder about that. After those 3, it reaches the 9th twilight. Take a look.
On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. We're all gonna be killed by Beatrice?
I don't get it. Wouldn't that mean everyone dies no matter how many people there are? What was grandfather after? So the ceremony would mean kill him too, no matter what? It's okay, no one's left alive. On the 12th, 10th twilight, you finally arrive at the Golden Land.
On the 10th twilight, at journey's end, you shall attain to the power of the Golden Land's treasure once and for the last time. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures.
Grandmother wasn't afraid of dying. Look at the second and third of the 4 treasures.
One shall be resurrected. One shall be the resurrection of all the dead souls. One shall be the resurrection of all the love that was lost. So grandfather believed he would eventually be revived if he died partway through the ceremony? Ridiculous, that's insane. When you die, it's over, right? The dead don't come back to life. Isn't that just a miracle? Isn't that a miracle humanity's been chasing after thousands of years and still hasn't accomplished? So, is that what this means? Something like you'll be able to meet them in the afterlife when they'll be restored?
If you're saying what I was right, would that mean that grandfather whose remaining life is slim would be driven mad by love and is committing suicide? Wait, tell me. No, a massive forced group suicide?
I need this scene to end soon.
Yeah. Genji, such a thing possible?
わかりません。
I don't know. The master is a man who sometimes has the wisdom to see thousands of years into the future. However, there are times where that
それが今日
appears to be nothing more than madness to commoners such as myself.
それってイエスって意味だよな。
Okay, should we take that as a yes?
沢さんはどうなんだ
What do
よ
you say, Kumasawa-san?
私
Oh, I don't know anything. That's right, I don't know. Do you think I would be on the island today if I did know? I would have faked an illness or done anything to take the day off. That's right.
おじい様の長年の友人である
What about your opinion, Dr. Nanjo? You've been grandfather's friend for many years.
源氏さんに
I feel the same as Genji-san.
金蔵さんは
Kinzo-san was a man who far surpassed ordinary people.
ある種の
I've even felt sort of inhumane power from him at times.
私にも
Even I don't know what Kinzo-san was thinking about when he wrote the epitaph.
一つだけ言える
All we can say is that even father
仮にこの筋巻きを作ったのがお父様で
someone else's.
確かに
That's right.
少なくとも
At the very least, there's another culprit who's had father in canon.
しかもそいつは
Furthermore, that person's still continuing the crime as that step says.
Letter in the beginning that we didn't think deeply about. What was it and what was written there? We thought back to the recitation of the letter last night. Beatrice had proclaimed something inside of it, and had proclaimed that, according to her contract with Kinzo, she would collect everything of the Ushirimiya family as interest.
They
Then-
fucking mentioned this multiple times before.
It has also revealed a special clause. If someone discovered the location of grandfather's hidden gold, that right would be lost. When the letter was read, grandfather was still alive, but at the time it had already been sealed by wax by the head's ring, which meant grandfather had handed the ring over to Beatrice when he was alive. If we take a straightforward approach, maybe we should assume Beatrice is carrying out a strange contract with grandfather, guaranteeing her that right. In other words, this was the same as saying grandfather knew and approved of the contents of the letter. In other words, it's basically a joint message from Beatrice and grandfather telling us that Beatrice will start collecting interest if we don't solve the riddle. In other words, grandfather and her were demanding that we try and solve the riddle of the epitaph, and if we couldn't, they would be saying that the massacre would be carried out according to the epitaph.
In other words.
In other words, what does that mean? What do they want? I don't have a clue what that means.
ほらベアトリーチから
Oh god, this scene feels like it's gonna keep going. Should we just stop here? I feel like they're about to read another letter. I think we should stop here.
Another letter from Beatrice. Okay, well.
Because this feels like it's gonna keep going. I checked on Steam, so we are 30 hours in.
People say 30 hours and still playing episode 1's crazy. But we're reading this out loud.
Like 2 of them were AFK, and then maybe 3 has been AFK for now. But the rest we just keep pausing to talk about theories and stuff.
Yeah, it's a game. I think that's how this game was intended to be played anyways, though.
Yeah, you see, maybe everybody thinks this is good because they just read it. But if they were to think about it, they would see that it's actually bad.
Oh no, I think it's decent. I'm pretty sure it's just a very slow burn.
It's an extremely slow burn. I feel like barely anything's happened still.
I'm sure something will happen by the time episode 3 starts.
Yay! I'm excited
Yeah.
because I don't know what happens past episode 1.
Yeah, that one person told us like episode 1's the longest or something.
Yeah.
So we just have to keep having faith.
Yeah, surely. Surely it's good. Anyways, I gotta go.
Goodbye.
Bye, stream. Maybe tomorrow we can continue a little bit.
Yay.
Yep.
1 hour
See,
a day will get us done by the New Year's.
by next week we will be done. Or sorry, by this week we will be done with episode 1. I guarantee it.
Oh yay! How long have you been reading the story?
30 hours.
How many weeks?
We're on part 14, so it's been over 2 weeks.
Okay, so if you just keep reading at this pace, we might be able to finish by a month.
Yeah, if it's 2 weeks per episode, then
Some month. I don't know what month, but 1 month.
2 months per episode. Oh, sorry, 2 months per. We'll be done in 4 months with the entire thing.
That's pretty good.
Did I do the math right? Am I stupid? So 2 weeks per episode. So that means for the first game, that's 8 weeks, which is 2 months.
That's not bad.
That's not terrible, yeah. I mean, Persona games take me 1 month.
We just have to. If we read at a faster pace, we can get there sooner. But what's the entertaining part if we just read the story how it is and we don't?
True, we have to insert ourselves. We have to make fun of every time that the writing is repetitive.
Because if I just read the repetitive writing, then it's like then no one else feels like it's like insane.
But yeah, we gotta humble the story a little bit.
Yeah. Just a bit.
A little bit. But yeah, this week we're definitely done with episode 1, so I'm very curious to see how the story changes.
I'm very curious to see.
Bro is dying. Alright. That's enough. That's enough thinking and anticipating. We're gonna end the stream. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.